Ted, it's nice to see you.
Okay, I think we will just go ahead and get started. So I want to introduce Patricia Heller, who has been a member of the San Francisco Opera Orchestra's viola section since 1986. And she has been a very important stalwart member of the Northern California Viola Society Board. And she has studied in Oxford with Kato Havas. And I'm so delighted to have her here today. Another stellar member of the lineup for this Kato Havas celebration, which again sort of started when we realized that November 5th would have been Kato's 100th birthday, and she passed away in a very tidy way on the 31st of December 2018. So we're just absolutely thrilled that you're all able to come and learn something about the new approach. And we have many new approach experts here as further resources. And if you're wanting more input or to work one-on-one, please feel free to email, or you can actually just stick that in the chat that you would like to do that. And I think without further ado, let's turn it over to Patty.
Daria, thank you so much. It's really nice to be here tonight. And Kato Havas had such a profound effect on so many people in all over the world. And as we all spent time with her and then moved on into our lives, it was lovely in the Bay Area to have maybe a dozen of us who stayed connected with each other. And we had a little performing ensemble for a little while. It was very nice to keep that connection with the new approach ideas as we all took them into our own lives. I did study, as Kato said, as Daria said, I did spend some time with Kato. I had read her books after I'd finished my training at the New School of Music. And I'd read Kato's books, and I liked the idea of playing with less effort and playing with less pain. Although I wasn't at the time playing with effort or pain, I just thought it sounds like a good idea. And I met a magnificent violinist at the Coos Bay Festival in Oregon, Margaret Tyson Klein. And Margaret played with such ease and such beauty and such it was just straightforward from her heart. And when I had a chance to go spend some time in England and I wondered what to do, I thought, well, I want to go learn how to play like Margaret did. So that was my introduction to Kato Havas. And I did not expect, at 22, I kind of thought I knew how to play the viola. And I was doing okay. But when I went into those lovely lessons, my husband, Dwayne, came with me and took notes for the whole time we were there. We were there for 4 months, and we would go to Kato's house in Oxford twice a week. And Dwayne would sit in the corner just scribbling notes. And the rest of the week I would practice, and we would go into London and see theater and concerts. It was a magical time. Anyway, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about Kato because obviously I could go on for hours about her, but I do want to spend a lot of time doing one of the things that she helped me learn how to do, and that's called miming. And there's a couple more things I want to say about the new approach. Kato was very clear that she was not developing a method, so to speak. She was discovering ways to help people be their own best musicians. And so Bettina referred to this a little bit last week. We can't tell each other how to play. I can't tell you how to move your arm. I can't tell you what's the best shape for your left hand to be in, but I can tell you, and Kato was very good at learning how to find the balances that will make pretty much anybody's playing more easy and more fulfilling. So the one of the tenets that Kato started with was that new approach is a living practice. And as every stream is its own stream, even though it's made up of water and has banks on it, each stream has to decide how to go around that particular mountain. And it might recognize another stream that's over there also going around a mountain, but it's each of us needs to find our own way. So in that way, Kato was very clear that she was not teaching, she was not prescribing how one should play the violin in her case, and in my case, the viola. It was very much a living practice that was a mode of inquiry. There are a couple of rules. One rule is that the pulse is at the center of what we do. And so always there's a sense of connection to the earth. There's a sense of connection to the waves that are between us and other people. And that pulse is what organizes the music. So the pulse is at the center of what we do. And then there really was only one prescription that Kato required, and that was that you find the music. So if she suggested that you move this way, and you find that moving this way is not going to work for you, then go move that way. Find a way that does work for you. The only thing you have to do is always be looking through the composer's heart, through the composer's directions to find the music. That's the important thing. And then there is one other prescription, and that is that we have to approach this work with humility and joy. And Kato was one of the wonderful things that she helped me learn was the idea of stepping inside a bubble of peace. We all have 75 other things going on. And if we take all those 75 things with us into the practice room, our practice will be distracted. So Kato talked about stepping into a bubble of peace and creating around you a space while you are doing your work that is safe and whole and complete, and it loves you so much that the music really cherishes you, and that you are in this space. And it's up to us to create this each time. And you know, the thing is, we don't really have to believe that that's true, because we can always step out of that bubble when our work is done and go back to the other parts where, you know, where maybe we're having a difficult time with, you know, the grocery list or something like that. We may be having a difficult time feeling whether we're capable of playing this particular piece, or having a hard time talking to our granddaughter. You can always step back into that space, but when you're doing the work, you have this bubble of peace around you. So I would invite you to make yourself a bubble of peace, and I will myself. As I said, this is the first time I've done this. And I am really nervous. And so I'm going to take that nervousness and with the breath, set it aside for the moment. It can still be there a little bit later, but I invite you to take out your instruments and just love the fact that you have this instrument to make music with, and just think what a glory this is to have this moment to play music together. One of the tenets of Kato's work, and I always have to be careful not to call it a technique or a method, but one of the tenets that she talked about was that we can take this chaotic world, which is outside our bubble, and we can make order out of it. And the way that we succeed and overcome the challenges that we make is by finding what that order is. I would call it science. And discovering, for example, oh, I don't have my string with me, but discovering, for example, what is the difference between this note and this note? I mean, in my hand, I might think, oh my gosh, that minor third is so far away and my fingers have to go so far and I have to do this with it. But actually, if you look at the fingerboard, it's not immediately next door. It's only that far. And if you had a string, which I should have brought myself a little string, if you had a string, Kato would measure that and you'd see that it was maybe, I'm going to measure it. with my hair tie and show you. It's that far. So finding true information and replacing fear or panic with true information and giving ourselves clear, positive directions is one of the ways that we succeed at playing music. And that's also a really good way to get rid of unhelpful habits. So for instance, I used to, before I worked with Kato, I used to do a lot of holding the instrument with my chin. And I was developing some bad pain in my shoulders and some stuckness in my chin. So, but I was really fast and I was really good at moving around the fingerboard, but I was holding way more than I needed to. And so the lesson with Kato, I'll just demonstrate this a little bit. The lesson with Kato was something she called flying your fiddle, and to discover what the viola actually weighs. I had this sense of picking up this heavy instrument and holding this thing and keeping my arm working so hard. All of my muscles were working way harder than they needed to. But with the true information of, well, that's how much it actually weighs. And I'd invite you to put your instrument on your hand and just see what that feels like. Lay it on the back of your hand like this, put like in a nice, comfortable, not like there's no worry, you're not going to have to play like this, but just balance it here. And it weighs something. It doesn't weigh as much as I thought it did. And I didn't have to spend all of this effort. I can just feel it now across my neck, across my scalp, just closing everything off. So true information can override unhelpful habits. Obviously, that was an unhelpful habit to hold more than I needed to and to clamp down with my chin. That was unhelpful. Another important part of the new approach is that the voice activates the music, and it activates the music by attaching to the central nervous system. And Kato had a great scientific connection, which I never really followed, but I believe it because I believe her. She talked about the cortical connection between our tongue and our thumb. And there's a nerve, evidently, that connects the way the tongue connects to the central nervous system and the way the thumb connects to the central nervous system are very related. And so when I speak, that's actually in my central nervous system, it's telling my thumb how to act. So if I say, hit that note, then my thumb will hit that note. If I say out loud, be gentle and be kind and be loving, that's what my thumb will hear. That's what my central nervous system will hear. So the voice activates the central nervous system, and we might as well use that tool to give ourselves positive, strength-based habits, as opposed to fear-based habits that don't really, that are just based on what we are afraid might actually be the case. Excuse me. Another thing that Kato was really good at was substituting humor for angst. So instead of finding myself in a place of, oh my dear, oh my goodness, I have to go talk to these people like this tonight, I don't know what I'm gonna do, I'm so scared, and tying myself down like that, I offered myself, before I came in, I offered myself a sense of humor and a sense of, well, Patty, what's gonna happen? Are they gonna jump out the screen at you? No. Are they gonna, what's the worst that could happen? Well, I might, fall on my face and stop talking, and actually the result of that would probably be that people would like me a lot. They would probably be very sympathetic to that. Not necessarily that they'd like me, but they'd be sympathetic. So I offered myself a sense of humor in the face of the angst that I was feeling. So substituting humor for angst. And then we also always enhance kinetic learning by using other senses. When I learned to play the viola, it was very much based on what my eyes saw. My eyes saw that my fingerboard was this long, and I just simply moved my hands and hoped that the music came out. And one thing Kato suggested was to substitute a different way of looking at an instrument. So one of this little exercise that I showed you, seeing how much the instrument actually weighs, do this and feel the softness and actually the frailness of the fingerboard. So that in case you have a sense that maybe your fingerboard is there to give you pain or scare you, remind yourself that it's actually this magnificent piece of wood. It's a tree, and it's completely under your command, and my hand has utter command over it. So substituting other senses, using other senses to enhance our kinetic memory, which in what we're going to do tonight is very much demonstrated by using the voice. So I'm going to ask you to sing. And of course, all of you are muted, so you can sing as loud as you want, or you don't even have to sing if you don't want to. But the idea is, Kato's premise was that by singing, by activating your voice, you are activating a really powerful learning path in your body. So I invite you to join in with that. So without further ado, I would like to suggest that we do just like a 2-minute Zoom practice. And maybe I'm stepping on toes by doing this, but this is new to me. So if you, I am going to take questions at the end of this class, but if something comes up while we're going that you would like to ask, please feel free to write it in the chat, and my producer will keep track of that, and I'll make sure that I address that when we get to the end of it. So if you don't know how to do the chat, just click on that link at the bottom. It's probably at the bottom. It'll bring up the chat, and then it'll be a place where you want to ask a question to everyone. And excuse me, unless you want to pass notes, you could pass notes in class also, and I won't ever know about it if you pass them between each other. Let's see. And so type questions into the chat. And then I'm just curious about this. If you go into the participants link, open that link, and you'll see a list of the participants. And then there's a little button at the bottom that says yes or no, or get slower or go faster. Can you hit yes, check the green yes if you've ever spent time with Kato's work before. So we can just watch on that list and see how many people that are listening tonight did spend time with Kato before. A lot of people. Other senses to substitute for kinesthetic learning? Is that the sentence? Kinesthetic learning, yes. For enhance, okay, I'll answer this question now. All right, so now you can lower your yes vote, and we'll go on with that. And I do have one question to answer, which is, the sentence was, and I'm looking at my notes over there, enhance kinetic learning with new perspectives, using sight in different ways than we usually use it, using sound in different ways than we usually think, hearing things differently than just simply playing the etude over and over again, and using our voice. And voice is the one that I'm going to be speaking about mostly tonight. So without further ado, if you have the PDF that that Daria sent out yesterday, the second page, nope, I'm sorry. You might have a version of the Skyboat song, which is the piece we're going to use tonight. So if you would like to bring that up on your screen, or if you want to put it on your music stand, this is a good time to do that. And Jules will show. I made one in alto clef because that's who we are, duh. And I also made one in treble clef, but we're going to be looking at the alto clef version. So that's what we're going to be talking about right there. So
Patty, just really quick, in case you haven't noticed with the newest version of Zoom, you can take the line that's in the middle of the screen right now and pull it left and right. and it'll make the music or Patty bigger, so you can adjust it to see what you need to see the most.
So we're going to be so good at Zoom by this. Thanks, Katie. All right, so if I were going to learn this song, this Skyboat song, it was my job today to learn this song, I would look at that and I would say, okay, well, I'm going to start by finding the pulse. And I want this to be a lullaby, because this was a lullaby that my mother sang to me. So I'm going to choose a tempo that is about 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, almost even just a very big one, a very, very big one. So the first thing I would do is clap the song and sing it. And we'll breathe. And you hear that it's a very large pulse, because it's sustaining all the way through that whole measure. And you could add a little 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And what you can't see from my lovely profile, but what I'm doing is I'm connecting something that Bettina talked about last week, connecting my spine to the earth beneath me. And I have my 2 feet separated, kind of like a Tai Chi stance. And again, because this is a living practice, if you don't stand exactly that way, that's also fine. But so that the pulse travels actually from the center of the earth, and each time the wave comes by, I celebrate it. And I can't actually speed up the pulse, because the music is its own speed. The music would, if the music changes, I could speed it up. But this is the pulse of this piece. Okay, so we found the pulse. Now you can divide up your practice and sing the note names, which would be like D, E, D, G, 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 A, B, A, D. Or you could sing it with solfege. Si, la, si, re, re. Oops. Si, la, si, mi, re. Or you could, if you don't have one of those languages at your disposal, you could sing it on la. La, 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 la. La, 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 la. And what we've done by this point is had a really lovely time just making a little bit of music. And we have imbued the sound of the room with the sound of this music. And if the character of the music was very different, the character of our voice would be very different. If the character of the music was, the C major prelude or something like that, it would be a very different look. It would be a very different sound. This is a lullaby. So this is the piece we're working on right now. The next thing will be to mime the right hand. And so we're going to only use our right hand. A Kato right hand would be deciding whether you're using the upper hinge to move the bow or the elbow hinge to move the bow, but that's food for later conversations. And right now, all we need to do is downs and ups. So that would sound like this. Down, up, 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 down, up. And you notice that some of those notes are real little, so some of the motions are small, like from the very beginning. There's a half note down, and then the 2 little notes are like a little turn of a ballerina. Up, down, up. And another turn, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And then this is a really long one, up. So you're already telling your arm it's going to move a little slower on that really long D at the end of the line. And then we're going to mime the level of the string that we're playing on. And this piece is a very simple one, thank goodness. So most of it is on the D string. So we're going to start on the D string, And I see in the third measure, we're going to play that with an open string. So we'll have 2 measures on the D string, 2 measures on the A string, another measure on the A string, and then back to the D string. So we're teaching our arm that we only have to be on the D string or the A string, the D string or the A string. And when you get back to your viola, you'll see what I mean, just the space between being on the D string and the A string. So I'm going to sing the names of the strings, but with the notes. It's going to be weird. D, 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 A, 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 D, D, D. Let's do the next line. D, 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 A, G, sorry. D, 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 A, 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 D, D, D. So that your arm is simply moving from the A string to the D string. And what I'm doing is I'm actually reassuring my arm that it doesn't have to do very much work. It just has to go back and forth between the A and the D. And in fact, in this piece, it's very straightforward how that works. And then one last thing with the bow, which I like to do, which is the choreography. And again, this is not how obviously I wouldn't be playing with my bow over my shoulder or way out here like this, but the idea of how this dance can tell the story of this music without being encumbered by a bow. So I'm just going to sing not the words, but just the laws. You can sing whatever you want. 1, 2, 3. La, 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 la. And I have the sense of my arm being like the most graceful ballerina. La, 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 la. And those last 3 measures on the first line, up, down, up. There's such a beauty in that. Nice long, and then we breathe and we play the second line. La, 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 la. So you're choreographing your arm. Now we're going to mime the left hand. And the first thing I would do with this piece is I would see, okay, it's G major, and I see that it's only these notes on the D and the A string. So what I need is to have my hand learn the shape of a D, and then see if I do this. See if this is helpful. A whole step up to the first finger, and then the F sharp is going to be a whole step away from my first finger, and then the G is going to be a half step. I'm sorry that I can't really demonstrate it here, but the whole step is the first finger is a whole step, second finger is a whole step, third finger is a half step. And on these first 2 lines, we don't have any fourth fingers. And on the A string, it's the same shape. So I'm teaching my hand this shape. And that's useful when you're standing in line at the grocery store. And you want to figure out, what was that thing that I was trying to learn? Oh yeah, it was that shape. And this is where an in-person lesson is easier to see this, but I'm teaching my hand that this is the shape that I'm going to be playing for this piece, so I don't have to think about it anymore. So I've assimilated the left hand shape. Now we can pick up our instruments and hold it like a guitar. And of course I was singing out of tune, sorry about that. We're going to pluck these notes like it's a guitar. And here we go. 1, 2, 3. And you see my left hand is filled with music the whole time. So here's the second line. And did you notice I can't just like go to the second line? I have to wait till the wave comes around. Here we go. And my whole self is feeling this pulse as we move, and my whole self is creating all of this music. Now we're going to sing the fingerings. Okay. And that's like doing the down ups, but with the O's and the 1s. So we'll do that one. 1, 2, 3. Oh, 103, 33A, 10. Okay, and the O's, I sometimes say the name of the string. Sorry about that. So, 103, 330, 103. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Oh, 103, 330, 103, 101, 110. And if you can feel in your hand, you're moving exaggerated motions, but moving exaggerated from that B in the fifth measure, the third beat of the fifth measure, that B moving over to the E is the first finger. And so your hand has this sense of being on the A string and then on the D string, same place, just taking a little step sideways. So when you're miming, you exaggerate the motions and you really teach your hand what all, like putting a microscope on what's happening. So here's the second line. Oh, 103, 330, 103, 101, 110. And then the last thing we would do before we pick up the instrument entirely is to take the music for a walk. And I'll just describe that because I see I'm talking a lot. You would, in fact, you can't do it now because it's dark here in central New York. Take your music, now that you've learned that for those two phrases in your head, go out and walk among the trees. And how does that music feel when you walk? How does it feel to be walking with that music? So you take the music for a walk. That's an important step. Now we're going to mime the whole thing. So you can have your viola. No bow just yet. We'll do the miming the bow. We'll do the down ups. You can sing either the down ups or you can sing the note names. But the idea is that you're holding your instrument and now you're getting a closer sense of where your bow is going to connect when you put one in your hand. So I'm going to sing the down ups. Down, up, 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 down, up. We have this lovely breath during those two beat rests. Down, up, 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 down, up. Now you can pick up your bow and we're going to play open strings. I like to sing the music while I'm doing this, but sometimes that's a little confusing. But let's try this. I'm only going to play on the open string, so I don't need my left hand yet. That was lovely. And what I learned there is that I was not moving myself out to the tip enough for those long up bows. So I'm going to do that one more time, and I'm going to sing the names of the notes this time, but with the idea that I'm going to more carefully choreograph the length of the bow that I use. We're ready to play some music. Ready? I'll give you a couple pulses beforehand. lovely. I wish I could hear you all, but that was one of the things that Kato always said spontaneously. Oh, I enjoyed myself. Oh, that was lovely. And if we have put ourselves into this bubble of inquiry, we will have enjoyed ourselves for 10 minutes and come to the end of it with just such a beautiful thing. We're going to move on to the second phrase now and just do a quick version of the next two lines.
You have a question, which is why do we pulse this in one rather than three?
Why do we pulse this in one rather than in three? My choice was to pulse it in one. It's not right to pulse it in one. Part of what I know about this piece, which is the previous work that I would have done studying this piece, is that it's a lullaby, a fairy tale. With these words it is, speed bonny boat, like a bird on the wing, onward the sailors cry, carry the lad that is born to be king, over the sea to sky. It's such an evocative vignette of this time in, imaginary Jacobean England, when Bonnie Prince Charlie was being whisked away. The baby Bonnie Prince Charlie was being whisked away by the people that were supporting his cause, and the other guys that were supporting the other cause were coming behind them, chasing them to the edge of the water. And because Bonnie Prince Charlie had God on his hands, the people who were protecting him were able to get onto the sea, and in the midst of this terrible storm, they were able to ride away or fly away into this, maelstrom. And the other guys came up into the shore, and they were foiled in their efforts to get Bonnie Prince Charlie. Yes, so pulsed in one instead of three, because the sense of the ocean carrying me on those big waves. Now, I argued with myself doing this more as a jig. Also legitimate, and that would have been in two. If you wanted to pulse it in three, that would also be legitimate. I chose one, that's why. You can choose three. Okay, now we're going to look at the second phrase, which is the next two lines on this page. And we're just going to do a quick miming. We'll start with singing the notes, and you can choose to sing B, G, B, B, A, F, A, or you can sing C, Sol, C, C, La, Fa, La, La, or you can sing La, 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 La. Here we go. B, G, B, B, A, F, A, G, E, G, 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 E. B, G, B, B, A, F, A, G, E, G, 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 E, D. So pretty. Now let's do the down ups. So this is going to be starting on a down bow. Down, up, 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 down, up. So there's we sang the notes, we've sang the down ups. Now we're going to do plucking like a guitar string. We're doing a crash course. In this piece, I'm going to use my fourth finger for the A. So in the third measure, there will be an interesting time when sometimes our fourth finger feels like the lost cousin that's kind of left out of the fun. And because of that, we work really hard to make sure that it feels like it's part of the family. It's part of the tune. And so every time I come to that, fourth finger A, I'm going to put extra love in my hand. And just for that moment, be so glad that I have this fourth finger that I can cherish. So from the beginning, plucking the notes would be. And the next line, another chance. Now pick up your bow and let's play the open strings. What I notice in this music is that it starts on the A string. It has a quick little turn over to the D string and then back to the A string. And then from the third measure on, it's all on the D string. So that's what you're going to hear. But I'm going to sing the music. Now we're going to play the music. And then there's a da capo where we go back to the top of the page. That was so lovely. On this side of the camera, it was really lovely feeling. And I expect that on your side of the camera, it was also a lovely feeling. And maybe you've got a little smile on your face. Let's play this whole piece. Can you set up your music so that you can see the whole page? Is that possible? So I don't know whether I am giving you the right, we're still learning how the world works here. At the end of the second line, there's a fine. I mean, there should be a fine. At the end of the piece, there's a da capo. So we're going to play 2 lines, 3 lines, 4 lines, then go back to the top and play the da capo again. Let's see how beautiful this song is. Oh my goodness. It's just such a magical world to be in. So beautiful. There's also, of course, we chose a kind of a piece that a lot of people could reach easily. You can certainly use this miming idea with other repertoire. So for example, the C major prelude that I was talking about. if I were going to mime the C major prelude, I would start with finding a pulse. So I'd find a pulse like that, and you can hear that the sound of my clap, the percussion of my clap is very different from the lullaby that we were doing. So the quality of the music is in every part of what I do. And so on. We'll just start with the first downward scale. And then I would, let's see, I would do some bowing. I would mime the bow. I like to do this piece starting on an up bow and all of the 16th notes separate. So since I'm here, then that's what I'm going to do now. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Again, because that was a little bit sloppy at the bottom. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And Kato would always talk about make sure that you fill your voice with the music. You might feel a little shy about it, like I do right now, but you fill your voice with the music, and then it doesn't have anything to do with you. So that quality of scubba, 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 scubba is in the physical motions that you're making before you get to the instrument. And then I would do a left hand miming. This is going to be hard. I'm bad at this. Sorry, Kato. 2103, 2103, 03, 302, 0. All right. You won't tell on me. But the idea is that if you can speak the music in as vigorous and clear way with your mouth as you, in a very vigorous and clear way with your mouth, then you will, of course, be able to play it. So if I were on my own, I would now go and spend some time getting that C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, G, C, G, E, C, G, E, G, C, G, E, G, C, C, G, E, G, C. I would learn that with my mouth so that when I come to it with my left hand on my instrument, I would do a better job. Now let's see. Oh, and okay, I'll assimilate the music here, or rather assimilate the shape. And we have a C major. So on the A string, it's a 2, second finger close to, sorry, I'm really sorry. This is not a very good way of doing this. Second finger close to first finger. And then the first finger is a whole step from the open string. So it starts with 2, 1, 0. And then my 3 and 2 are a whole step apart on the D string. And then the first finger on the D string is close. And then on the G string, it's a C, and then an E open, and then the E on the C string, and then another open string, and then another open string. So when I'm standing in the line at the grocery store or waiting at the bank or whatever, waiting for my COVID test, I think, what does that feel like in my hand? What does that C major feel like in my hand? And I can just do a little. It's fun. And then, well, that's essentially how you would you can use this on any little snippet of a phrase that's challenging to you. I know people who have learned entire pieces. I've done some very small pieces doing the whole thing like this, but I know when I was in Oxford, Kato had a pair of players that learned the entire Symphonia Concertante by being able to articulate all the music with their mouth, all the music with their hand, all the music with their left hand before they put it on the instruments, and it was brilliant. When they came to playing it, they were creating the music every single time, and it was revelatory. So that is miming according to Kato Havas, according to the new approach. And I wonder if anybody has any questions. You are welcome to unmute yourself if you have a question, or you can type into the chat if you prefer. Guess I'll have to open my chat.
Can you talk a little bit about your experience of doing miming with beginning students?
Yes, Dejana. Hi, nice to see you. There are people who teach a lot more than I do, and they have had much better experience, much longer experience. I would defer actually to next week's class where Jean Ann and David are going to be speaking about how they apply this in their teaching. My career has taken me mostly to performing, and I have not done the teaching that enough of the teaching that I feel confident to say, well, of course you do this. Kato, there are some really specific movements that Kato starts with. One is with beginning students. One is this sense, so that from the very beginning, students learn that the instrument is a thing of its own size. It's not a 3-ton weight. It's this size. And starting with this, so that from the very beginning, students will have that sense. And when we introduce the first finger, as one does with any string player, we introduce it with this sense of warmness and cuddling and love and embracing, as opposed to what I was taught, which was put your finger on the string. So it's not, in my experience, my limited experience, it's not so much that I would do something in different orders with new students, but the language that I would use is very much New Approach informed. But I don't know, Dejana, you've had quite a lot of experience teaching younger students. Would anybody else like to comment on that maybe?
I teach a lot of young students. Currently, I have several who are between the ages of like 4th grade to 8th grade. And I do have them clap and sing. I have them sing note names with left hand routinely, and right arm on the open strings. I find that sometimes they find one step or another a little abstract, but the students who I just kind of, okay, now we're gonna do it with our left hand. If I don't make a big deal about it, that it's just fine. I do find that some students will, which I try to watch out for and discourage, that some students will end up with, a hand like this, but a lot of beginners do. And when they're miming, I'll find that they are pressing down into their hand, which is something we want to encourage them. So I try to say, leave some room for the violin's neck. And every so often, if somebody's really resistant for that, I ask them to have like a tiny stuffy, and they can rest it in their hand, and they create softness in their hand right away because of that. And it's something light and soft, and they just can mime with that thing in their hand. The thumb is so important. So I'm always watching out for that being locked back.
That's really helpful, Daria. Thank you. Did that sort of answer your question, Deanna?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I know Jean Ann typed something. I can't read it because I'm not looking at it right now. But
arm for beginning students, we start with the right arm strokes.
in the right arm for beginning students, we start with the right arm strokes. And there's a particular balance philosophy that Kato has sort of codified, where what part of the arm moves what part of the bow. And I think that's probably what Jean Ann is talking about. We start with the right arm strokes where which, for example, in the lower part of the bow, this part of the arm is doing the work, and in the upper part of the bow, this is the motion that we find. And there are wonderful exercises or step-by-step patterns that Kato came up with, and that her other teachers following in her path have come up with, that bring that into the basic technique of a new student.
Can I just interject a tiny little comment on that?
Please, yes.
Which is that Kato often said, well, always said, that the left hand commands and the right hand follows. That the left hand has what is complicated and the right hand just follows through. So the concept of miming into your arm for my smaller students, whether they're beginners or they're really advanced, creates an enormous sense of coordination. And whether I do this myself still, any kind of passage work, whether it's a Seitz concerto or Paganini, if you actually understand that the left hand starts and the right hand follows, then you eliminate any kind of coordination problem, because the right hand cannot move until that first finger or whatever finger actually activates it. And that's really brilliant in the way that connects those two sides of the body.
Yes, Bettina, that's perfect. And I remember part of my one in the Bach that I was learning with Kato at the time that I really just dissected one piece. One of the miming exercises is putting the finger that's going to be playing, directing the arm, the hinge of the arm that's going to work. So that's another more in-depth way of having a really clear chain of command. The music speaks through our voice speaks through our left hand tells the right arm what to do, and all of our body responds and the music is made. But it's really clear chain of command.
Do the steps always go in the same order?
Do
Can
the steps always go?
Address that a bit, Patty?
Yeah, sorry, yes,
Can I address that a little bit?
yes, please.
That Kato emphasized a lot that there was no bow. There is no bow. We have our arm, and our upper arm coordinates with this part of the bow. And when we swing our arm out this way, we use our entire bow. So for beginning students, that concept of thinking of only our arm really makes it that they never run out of bow. Because if they plan and ride the string with their arm, with the values of the notes that of the piece that they're playing, then we get phrasing. And phrasing does happen in the left hand, but we can swing that and get some momentum for the phrase of the music. And with beginning students, if they know down from 4 years old, they know what 1 + 1 is. And we get some mathematical skills in that way with the right arm, that there are just 2 hinges, the shoulder hinge and the elbow hinge. And that anything you're playing is going to coordinate with that. It will be one of those hinges, or we will meld those hinges together, such as in a 1 count stroke. A 2 count stroke, we're going to go shoulder and the elbow. That could apply for 2/8 notes, a half note. But as we're going into different values, we're going to combine those hinges. So in the 1 count, we really kind of paint the inside of a crescent moon and the outside of a crescent moon to be able to use the full arm and therefore the full bow. That for beginning students is quite easy in the concept of it. Of course, it's tricky because they start to hold the bow. So if they take their left hand and bring this out and then bring their hand over and swing their arm, moving the right arm, and the left arm comes along with it, they understand that concept. The violin is going to stay here, but our arm moves and initiates the motion and the phrase of the music.
Beautiful words. I look forward to going a little bit further in depth with you on that next week, Jean-Ann. Thank you. I think you're doing the bow and David is doing left hand next week.
I'll be doing the left hand in the, yeah, I believe.
There was another question wondering if the steps always go in the same order. Kato developed what she called the 12-lesson course. And I think actually, Bettina, you're one of the only people that I know that actually followed the 12-lesson course. By the time I went to work with her in 1984, excuse me, she had already sort of stepped aside from assigning this thing and then this thing and then this thing. One of the beauties of the new approach is that you can collect the entire work and make your playing work that way, or you can take a little piece of it and another little piece of it. And so it's probably not so much. I think Kato would agree that whatever you do to pick up these movements is the right thing to do. There is a certain order that if you were, as Jean-Ann or as Bettina were talking about, or Daria, if you have a student, there's an order that you would present them in, and they would build on each other. But today, for example, I've taken you through the entire miming process, which was pretty far down the line when I spent time with her. So, and there was another question?
No, can I just post your email in the chat for people to
Yes.
contact if
So,
they have more questions?
yes, so my email, oh, can I talk about Kato's? Hang on, Jean-Ann. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that. Can you read it, Jules?
Can you talk about Kato's proposition to learn about the piece of music in advance? You know,
Yes.
listening to the piece, but reading about it. Is it okay with you if I post your email?
Yes, yes. So, the idea of opening a piece of music like it's a treasured book. This is something that you would do before you picked up the Skyboat song. You would say, what's the context of this piece historically? Who wrote this piece? Where was it first performed? What was going on politically at the time? And then you sit down in your easy chair with your cup of tea and your little light hanging over your shoulder, and maybe your cat on your lap, and you read the music and you discover what this sound is internally before you even step to the point of activating the pulse. So yeah, that she was very fond of the idea of not necessarily listening to other people. In fact, she was very instructive. Don't listen to other people, but find what the composer has said on this page, and find how you can express that story to people. Yeah, and Jean-Ann has a question. Nope. Jean-Ann, unmute yourself if you have a question. No, maybe I was wrong about that. I think
I don't have a question.
Oh, okay. I think our time is coming to an end. I invite you all to look at the PDF. There's a three-page PDF that I said that the Northern California Viola Society has that touches on a few more of the things that we talked about. It also offers you ways to connect with other people who use these ideas in their teaching. And if you would like, there are many people. I listed some of them on that page who would be really glad to just give you a quick answer to your question, because I had a really lovely time, and that was simply just playing a little bit of music with you. And I think that you probably had some lovely time too. And if we just recreate that every time we play, then what else is there, right?
Yeah, indeed. Thank you so much, Patty. It's been just an enormous pleasure. And I just want to kind of use some of your words back to say that you discussed how, you know, we create this bubble of peace around us. And I feel like that is something that Katie and I have been attempting to do with the Panda sessions, as we're calling them familiarly. And and you said, and you know, once you've done that, you've sung and you've clapped, you've felt the pulse, you've established the music inside, and you say, we will have enjoyed ourselves for 10 minutes. And how valuable is that these days? It's such a blessing to be able to do that. And with Thanksgiving coming up, we are really, it's time for us to dig deep and find things to be grateful about, because, you know, there's a lot to be unhappy about as well. But so this was an absolute gem of an hour to spend time with Patty's incredible energy and her explaining of the steps of miming. there are many different approaches to how you do the miming. You can do them in different orders. You can sometimes leave steps out. Sometimes you need to do more and sometimes you need to do less. And one of the beautiful benefits, aside from, I think Patty said this, it sounds so great when you really have worked things through and physically you found all the kinks. And Kato used to say, it's like lifting rock and finding all the creepy crawly bugs underneath and exposing them to light. And that's what you're doing. And when you really go through all this, you also don't need to worry so much about trying to memorize it, because it really goes in deep and sounds beautiful. And this was a beautiful hour. Thank you so much. Please don't forget to come back next week for the third session, which is going to feature David Daniel Bose and Jean Ann Weber, who are going to each kind of take apart left hand and right hand and explain those further. Also, that I want to just say that our plug, the Northern California Viola Society, has we received 75 compositions for our viola composition contest, which is a solo piece of about 3 minutes that hasn't been performed yet, that we then turn over to our young violists who are competing in the spring. The deadline for the competition is upcoming. It is January 5th. That's happening. And then the finals competition is in early March. We are fundraising. If you're a member and you haven't renewed your dues, that would be very welcome. This is a great time to do it. And also that we have received a very generous matching donation. And so we are trying to find funds to match that so we can keep this wonderful $1,000 that we've gotten. And you can go to our website. You can join there or respond to one of the emails that we've sent. And also, if you're hurting right now, please just come. We just want you to come and share in the our effort to create community and connection in this time that is just really unprecedented and difficult and seems to be pretty crappy right now. So you're welcome here. You are welcome here. Thank you, Patty.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the Northern California Viola Society for being such a great platform to share this work. And I highly recommend a little membership from all of you that are able to do that. It's a fun group, and the only way we get to do things is when we have just a teeny bit of money to publicize it. So yeah, looking forward to a Viola Mania when we can all get back together again.
Indeed. Yeah.
In the meantime, the Panda program will continue.
In the meantime, we have Pandemonium. Woohoo!
Yep.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Patty. Wonderful. Thank you, Daria, Katie, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Looking
Bye-bye.
forward to next week.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, right.
See you.
Hey, Sonia, great to see you.
Hi, you too, Daria, Janan.
Bye, Bettina.
See you guys
everybody.
later. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Bye, Jody.